Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Olympia Pop Rocks. Here, me, Jemmy Joe, and my best man, Guire, talk about all things art, culture, media, and Olympia. In this episode, we interview Kevin Rainsberry of the punk band Rvivr and the creator of the YouTube series Bye Burdy. But first, me and Guire talk about how we moved to Olympia. Okay, Guire,
so wait,
you
is
had
this
some...
working?
Yes,
Hello.
I can see the waves. They're probably too loud now. Maybe I should turn it down.
No, we're fine. So, welcome to Season 1, Episode 1 of Oly Pop Rocks.
That's right. Well, it's Olympia Pop Rocks. Are you going to call it Oly Pop Rocks the whole time?
I think, I can stick with Olympia Pop Rocks.
Okay.
I'm so used to, I never say Olympia, but
Right.
I can say Olympia Pop Rocks.
Yeah. Well, I don't care if you
Why?
call it Oly Pop Rocks, but it's called Olympia Pop Rocks just because it's like you've been saying Oly since you've lived here a decade-ish.
Yeah.
But I've been singing the song Olympia Pop Rock since I was 16, so I can trump that.
Okay, so now you'll have to talk about what you mean by singing the song Olympia Pop Rocks.
Well, when I was a teenager, I discovered punk rock via the Kill Rock Stars first compilation because it had Nirvana on it, and I got really into K Records, Yo-Yo A Go-Go, and the Riot Grrrl scene, and Olympia was the focus of all that, and I was just very influenced, and I loved it, so I wrote a little song called Olympia Pop Rocks. And
Was it the first song you'd ever written?
no, that would be a good story. Yes, it was the first song I ever wrote.
Because this was 16, you were playing
Thereabouts.
guitar?
Yeah, I was probably like 18, actually. I was 16, 17, 18, something like that. But I was playing guitar, and I got the Olympia Underground Pop Convention. So
No, wait. Let's. So this is a perfect. That was actually an amazing natural segue into what I wanted to talk about up top on this podcast, which is going to be about Olympia arts, music, and culture, and that's how were you first exposed to Olympia arts, music, and culture, which it seems like we've touched on it.
Got the first Kill Rock Stars compilation, and it blew my mind because the music was really bad, and I'd never heard like bad music that was like creative and personal, but not well produced and like not sung well. And I was like, yeah, this is it.
Like, this is my kind of music.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved sloppy, go for broke, just give it all you got, and coming from the heart, but wanted to be different. And
What was the mainstream music you were listening to at that time that was the closest to? Because I remember like the first, like my first exposure to like to punk, and then to like music that was like home produced or like poorly produced or not just not professionally produced really, and how eye-opening that was. And I remember exactly what I was listening to at the time, which was like trying to find that sound, but
right. Well, I was into like Pearl Jam and Tori Amos and anything the mainstream that was really, really heartfelt about being sad or troubled. Upon reflection, I would say it's like survivor music, like having bad things happen to you and then reflecting through art on those experiences and rising above them, which was like a smooth move into Riot Grrrl for me. Yeah, but I was listening to like rock music. That's what I would say I was into. Like I didn't like anything that wasn't rock, except for like maybe quote unquote folk. But I would be like Joni Mitchell.
right. So when did you start? So at 16, you write Olympia Pop Rocks.
Thereabouts, yeah.
Thereabouts. At what point did you get into the Gilman scene? Because that must have, been this big part of opening, your eyes to like punk and all that, since it's been such an epicenter of punk in the Bay Area.
Well, that's just where there was to go see shows.
So then you're like, I want to see punk bands now. And then
No, not at all, actually. I just wanted to meet people. I started going to Gilman regularly just because you could volunteer and get in for free. And
how'd you even hear about it?
Oh,
I know how I heard about it from you. So
I was doing zines at the same time, which was very much of the same vein of not really focused around the punk scene, but just about the bearing of emotions. But one of the zine people I wrote to in Alameda, Thomas of One Quiet Voice, where is he now? I don't know. But he told me about the Gilman Club. Oh my God, it's been so long I almost called it the Gilman, which if you don't go there, that's embarrassing. You will look like a noob if you go to Gilman and call it the Gilman. Anyway, so he told me about it, and so I went to a few shows there and didn't love it right away. Any of the bands, but I like that you could get in for free, and that there was a bunch of people there who were like, cool.
Wait, do I remember that? Is it right that one of the first shows that you saw at Gilman that you really liked was Cub?
No, actually, one of my first punk shows was Cub, but it was actually at the Warfield. They were opening for the Queers and the Muffs.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I actually went for...
Because like Cub was like one of the first, punk bands where I was like, this band is great. I mean, I like definitely heard like plenty of punk bands and was like part of my local like punk rock scene in Cedar Falls, Iowa. But when I first heard Cub, I was like, wow, this music is beautiful.
Yeah.
And like raw and amazing. It was Box of Hair was the album.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah, that would be like the more produced stuff than they had earlier, which is
definitely
what I heard. But I would say similarly that my first experience at Gilman that actually made me really tied into the punk scene was going and see the High Fives, who were opening, I think, they were opening for Tilt, who I didn't see for much later. But I went and saw the High Fives, and they were the first punk band that I saw kids dancing at. They were like boogieing down, and like people were moshing, but then in the middle of it, there was like just teenage kids with blue hair like dancing, and my mind was blown that you could go out and see music and have fun. Like that just wasn't part of what I wanted or expected from music. Like I figured fun was something that the cool kids did. not the cool kids.
Right, yeah,
but the cool kids.
Yeah, like the punks were like being tortured.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
like
so I got into what really tied me into the Gilman scene and punk rock in general was the mid Lookout Records era, which is before or after Green Day and before they crashed and burned. But there was a lot of really fun, dancey rock and roll music. The Groovy Ghoulies, the High Fives, both of those, I would go and see them again. If they came through here, I would probably travel a distance to go and see them. They're just like really good rock and roll, plus memories. But so I would go and I would dance, and then you could get into shows for free. So that tied me into the Gilman scene. And then most of my exposure of punk was just from just being there. Like I do like punk and I do like metal, but I am more interested in I was more interested in weirdo music, and like punk is this very four on the floor, very straight rhythm, and it's just like such a formula to it that I was only surprised when it was very good.
Yeah. So when did you first come to Olympia? Was that when you moved up here, or had you traveled up here on tour before, or how did that all happen?
No, it was probably your wedding. Actually, I came here for that, and then like spent like maybe a day here before we flew out to Chicago and then to North Michigan.
Did it hold any significance coming here? Were you like,
oh yeah.
Were you like, this is Olympia?
I was totally looking for people who are celebrities to me that no one else knows who they are, like people from Kick and Giant, Lois Maffio, and I didn't know what Calvin Johnson looked like, so I wouldn't recognize him if I saw him. But still, it's like
you saw him?
I've seen him since then, but like now I think. Yeah.
Did you ever see anybody from Kicking Giant?
No, they don't live here anymore. They did actually do just a reunion recently, and they played in Portland, and that was awesome. Just to see it online because they sounded just so good for being a two-piece. Like they were just such a good band. As far as like '90s Olympia. Underground music, Alien ID still holds up as one of the best albums for the 90s for me, easily. It's just a fucking fantastic album.
So are you going to ask about me?
So how are things?
I guess they're going good. I started a new podcast.
How did you first get exposed to arts in Olympia?
All right, so I know like growing up, like the mainstream music like I was into, that then led into like punk. What was They Might Be Giants, Ween, Nirvana, of course. Gosh, there's probably some. The Pixies. Yeah, the Pixies was definitely like right in there. But in my hometown, the punk scene, it seemed, grew up organically around people who started just making music. People from my peer group who started making music at home, like on 4-tracks and stuff. And one of my friends, Joe Reilly, and another one of my friends, Steve Wilson, had a great punk band called No Consensus, and they released a tape. And I remember listening to the tape, or getting a copy of the tape, and I had never seen them play live, I don't think, at that point. And being like, how'd you do this? Like, how was it possible to get the sound on to tape? And then when I first saw a 4-track and how it worked, it blew my mind. I mean, I was dumbfounded, and I was thinking, why doesn't everybody have one of these in their house? I mean, most people have a stereo, so why don't most people have a 4-track? It just is like this, appliance like a microwave that it just should be around. I should have seen one of these before.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be 16 years old and seeing one of these for the first time. And so then I borrowed it and made a recording. And that was the record label, was that 4-track, which was always really funny. Ragman Records. And it centered just around the fact that somebody owned a 4-track.
Right.
So to me, that was like the beginning of punk. So, I mean, through having shows and buying other people's tapes and like hearing other like shitty recordings. And I remember every once in a while you would hear a recording that was simply audible, and you'd be like, this is a great record. Like, it just didn't have like that like massive layer of hiss, or you could, easily define each individual instrument rather than it just being a soup.
It's
of
a hit.
sound. Yeah. And that was a good phase, and I still really like 4-track recordings for that reason. So I was listening to that music, but friends of mine were definitely listening to like Elliott Smith, like Bikini Kill, Slater Kinney, or Modest Mouse. I mean, I was a Modest Mouse fan as soon as they kind of like, I don't know, Lonesome Crowded West came out, or I mean, it was into before they got hugely famous, but when they were actively touring, like Olympia famous is what I would call when they were Olympia famous, but before they were like famous.
Right.
That's when I first heard their music and really, really liked Modest Mouse. So, I mean, I was aware of groups from Olympia, at least like the people who were like touring nationally, but I didn't care. I've never been into like the minutia of music. Like, I was not, where's this music made? What record label is this music a part of? Like, that's never been me, like, ever. And certainly not at the time, probably because most of the music that I heard, I'd be like, ooh, what label are they on? Ooh, Columbia, or like Capitol. Ooh. So I was just it wasn't part of my world that way. But I was studying out. In my young adult life, I was a Slavophile, like very much into Russian language and literature, and I was studying out at a college in Philadelphia, and I was on South Street, and I was in a record shop just looking around because I was mostly like lonely and bored, and so I was like, oh, like look at records, and so I was in this record shop, and there was a Yo-Yo Go-Go compilation, the blue one with like the Yo-Yo Go-Go like logo.
Was that the live festival one?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then I bought that because there was a live Modest Mouse song on it. It was the only reason I got it. And I think there was like Mountain Goats and maybe like the Microphones and other bands from that era. It was like 1998, I think. And I listened to it, and I'd say like half the music on it I really didn't like, and then half I thought was like pretty good. And but I remember the liner notes distinctly because it had photos of the festival, and I remember thinking like, wow, Olympia must be a really amazing place to be and to live, and like looking at like just looking at the scenes, everyone like looked so happy, and I was like, oh, look, it's this festival where all these cool bands are playing, and I wonder what that place is like. But it was just Olympia. I don't even think I associated it with Washington State. I was like, oh, there's this place, Olympia.
It's a Shangri-La.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Atlantis. Sounds
so
wonderful.
that was my first exposure to Olympia. And then the first time that I came up here was this girl I was dating at the time was coming up from the Bay Area to go to Evergreen, Lucy. And so we came up to visit, and it was everything that I thought Olympia would be. There were people walking around with musical instruments on their back, like not one or two, but like many. You're like, there's a musician, there's a musician, there's a musician. We were contacted before coming up because through volunteering at Gilman, there was a arts and music collective opening called the Yes Yes, and downtown, and they had contacted Lucy about just tips on running a nonprofit arts and music space, and so we went and checked that out. So, and it was this great space downtown that was run by like a bunch of really like fun and interesting people, and so we went to one of those organization meetings. We jammed with like some people, and they were playing like cellos and like clarinets, and I was playing accordion at the time, and I was just like, everything here is perfect. It's just musicians walking around and people opening up arts and music venues, and there's all this great music that came out of here. And so that was my first time I came up here, and it was the dream world that it still is today.
That it remains to this time.
That's exactly how it is. Just move to town, start 8 bands. This episode of Olympia Pop Rocks is brought to you by the Little General Food Shop. Little General is a specialty food shop in downtown Olympia where you can buy small label, local and imported delicious foods and gifts that you definitely won't find anywhere else. My favorite item to get right now at Little General Food Shop is the Nineveh Soup. Nineveh Soup is made fresh exclusively for Little General Monday through Friday, and today's soup was the sweet potato, and I can tell you it was fantastic. If you don't like sweet potato, no worries, the soup changes daily, and you can check out the daily offering at Little General Food Shop's Instagram or Facebook pages. Little General Food Shop is located at 315 Fifth Avenue, right around the corner from Rainy Day Records. When you stop by, say hello to them and let them know you heard about Little General Store from Olympia Pop Rocks. Jemmy and I would like to thank Little General Food Store for sponsoring this podcast. And now, on with our interview.
Okay, so we're talking to Kevin. You are the creator of Bye Burdy and the drummer for Rvivr. Welcome to Olympia Pop Rocks. You are our first guest on.
Hello.
Hey.
So you're working on Bye Burdy. Is this 4?
Bye Burdy 4.
Right.
Yeah, so like a little context, like Kevin. Well, actually, why don't we ask? Explain what Bye Burdy is and like where you got the idea.
So like years ago, my brother had some children. A couple years later, I was like, I'll give you something for Christmas. And then I sewed a stuffed animal. Then it came out pretty cool, so I did it for the next couple years. And then 4 years ago, or 3 years ago.
So you would sew the stuffed animal to give to the kid.
To give to the kid, yeah. And then they started getting like kind of elaborate, which is funny because I only sew once a year at this time of the year. And
and it's these stuffed animals.
And it's these stuffed animals, and it's hard to remember what I learned the year before sometimes. So then 1 year, 3 years ago, I thought, I don't really want to do this anymore. Then it was the year the Muppets came out. During the movie, thought, I'll make a puppet. By the time the movie was over, I was like, I'm making a movie. I'd just gotten like some crappy camcorder, and then I made a bunch of puppets and made a movie.
Was that the first Muppet movie you'd seen?
No, I'd seen the old ones.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I figured out how to make a movie, kind of. I think the first one was kind of good, but it's really obvious
that
I didn't know how to make a movie.
When you started to like make it, what was like? What did you think it was going to be at that time?
I don't remember. I don't think I really had any idea. I thought it was probably going to be like pretty cool. Have some bands.
Little did you know.
Yeah. I remember I made the one like main character, which I was going to give to my niece, and
that's a tradition, right? Like for each movie, the main character you've given to your niece.
Not the main character, but I've like continuing the like forcing myself to make some stuffed animal gift for my brother's kids. I've like put them in the movies now.
Oh,
and then this year they're pretty good. I think last year not so good. No, last year was all right. Yeah, last year was kind of
good.
Nice. Yeah.
You're thinking that they might hear this and they're like, look at this like crappy stuff.
Thanks, Uncle Kevin. What program were you using for editing when you first stared doing video work?
Windows Movie Maker or whatever it's called.
Yeah. That's the Mickey Mouse program I always recommend to people who want to start when they have Windows.
Yeah, it's easy. Looking back, I'm like, I have no idea how I made it. The Bye Burdy one was like a half hour long. My computer was really crappy. I didn't know what I was doing. I was using this really crappy program. I mean, I guess it's fine. You just like put videos in order.
So it sounds like pretty much like from the get-go, you like had the idea, but then how you were going to accomplish it, and even how you accomplished it, you have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, and what I was saying is I made like the one main character for the first one, and then I remember Meg went to work, and then while she was gone, I like made 3 or 4 puppets, and she came home and was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
So there's some classic characters that were developed for the first movie that then are now, I mean, during the screenings of these movies, people are like, like, when's Tim going to be shown? All these characters. As you were making them, were you thinking about who they'd be, or was that just like when the first scene happened, you're like, okay, I need to give this character a personality, I need to give this character a voice, and I will make it.
It was more like that. It was like, okay, so the story with Tim. So I was writing a song that the main character, BB, Bye Burdy 1, would sing. It was about like how his friend is missing. I needed something to rhyme with him or something. And so I was like, Tim. And then that was how I named that character. And
that's how you make art, people, right there.
I know. I like these sort of stories.
The line was like him much better than Tim. So then I was like, I guess Tim is like this kind of...
like a shit-on character.
Yeah.
But I think
they all have a story like that.
He's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, he's a good character. He almost didn't make it. He still might not make it into the new one.
Oh, my gosh. I think people would riot, really. People would be like, where's that? They wouldn't riot, but they would ask. Definitely would be.
Yeah, you got to put him in so I don't have to answer that question.
Exactly. But available right now is Bye Burdy 1, 2, and 3. You'll notice that there's music throughout all of them, including the first, and they're all kind of like musicals in a way. Mm-hmm. Where'd you get that idea?
I mean, I don't know where I got the idea. I guess because like the Muppet movies have music in them, and I was like, I've got all these talented friends. I can put their songs in. I can write the plot around the songs that already exist, so I don't have to write very much music that existed, or more like around one line from a song that exists, and that's what I still do.
Right. And then
this
it
song
makes
works.
Sense.
Sure, it's called "Suicide is Painful," but there's this one part where he says he likes to be asleep or something.
And this character's asleep.
Yeah.
Well, they will be now.
How did you first get exposed to Olympia as a concept, like arts, music, culture, or come to visit her? What was your first exposure?
My first exposure where I like knew this is Olympia place was actually I came on tour here with an old band and played a really terrible show.
Where was the show?
At the Voyeur.
Nice.
Great place for a touring band to go.
If you want nobody to be there and to make no money.
We didn't know it was the first tour I was ever on. We didn't know.
What band?
Mule Train.
Mule Train?
Yeah. We didn't know what we were doing at all. It's called the Voyeur, or emailed them probably. And they're like, yeah, you can have that date. And to us, that meant they're booking us a show. And to the Voyeur, that means we rented out the space in the back. Done. We even like mailed them flyers, and we showed up and there was no flyers and there's no other bands. And nobody knows that there's a show and nobody's in the back room and the bar's full. I mean, our band probably wasn't that good either, but yeah.
So then
then I went home, and then I moved in to the Chavez house, which was like a big 20-something person collective house I lived in Santa Cruz. And there was like all these hip people there who are like, Olympia is so cool. We're going to Olympia for like some fest.
You're like, warning, friends, warning.
You're like, actually, it's not cool.
Olympia's not that cool, guys. Yeah, I was like, it's not that cool. And then I had my friend from high school was like, Olympia sucks. Why
Who
are
was
you
living here?
Yeah. Why does anybody... I think he like maybe didn't really know anything about like what makes Olympia.
Before you came up on tour, were you like into Olympia music? Like, I mean, you might have been into the music, but
I guess I probably like knew some Olympia stuff. When I was in high school, I got a Bikini Kill CD, and my brother's girlfriend, who's now his wife, made fun of me for having it or something, and I felt like weird, and then didn't really like it that much anyway, and then sold it and was like, well...
So much for Olympia.
Yeah, so much for whatever this kind of music is.
Yeah, I can't believe so. It's like, you're like, music, eh. You came up here, you were like, meh. And then you must have been convinced by the people who lived.
Yeah, I guess so. It wasn't the weather.
So, what was the first time that you actually had a good time in Olympia?
Hasn't happened yet.
I'm hoping next year. Probably the next time I came here. The next time I came with membership. and we played at the Yes Yes.
The Arts and
With-
Music Collective downtown.
Yeah, we played at the Yes Yes.
Now a Thai restaurant.
Yeah, with the Pasties pre-Guire.
Yeah. And actually, I remember this show. I spent most of the time in the back.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, here's what happened. I left Santa Cruz with my friend Ryan Wade. We rode our bikes up to Bellingham. I'd come down to Olympia with Ryan. Went to a Pasties show. Actually, I played with the Kids on the Couch.
Oh, nice.
And then
Kids on the Couch, great folk joke band.
great joke of a band.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite bands of that genre.
Right, so I came down with Ryan and Kathy. The Pasties asked Ryan to be their merch person. I was going to go on tour with another band around the same time. That band broke up. Ryan said he didn't want to do it. And then I was like, I'd go on tour with you guys if you'd let me play the mandolin on the tour.
Nice.
And then I didn't hear back for a long time. And then eventually I think Alex wrote and was like, yeah, whatever, just like bring the mandolin and you can play it, and learn how to play the trumpet too, and you can play trumpet on a couple songs. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll go. And so then I had to call Kaylin in Santa Cruz and be like, mail me a mandolin.
Yeah, did you own one?
Me and her shared one,
Oh.
kind of, that we had like gotten from a free box. And I kind of knew how to play it.
You totally figured it out.
Yeah, I
I
figured
mean,
it
I
out.
remember it started with one song, and I think by the second show you're playing all the songs.
Yeah. No, by the end of the tour I was.
Yeah.
And that's how I moved to Olympia.
Oh,
Also.
nice.
Because I was like, I guess I live in Bellingham. And then we went on that tour, and I was like, maybe I should live in Olympia. Then I almost moved to Seattle. And then the house fell through like 2 days before I was going to move in. And was like, I guess I should live in Olympia. That's what I really want to do anyway.
And have you lived in Olympia since?
Yep,
Do you think you'll live in Olympia like for a long time?
probably. I don't know where else I would live. I'd rather live here than anywhere else I'd been now.
It's kind of a tall statement. You've been a lot of places.
Yeah. Been all over the world.
You've traveled the world.
Paris, boring.
Yeah.
Like Olympia.
Barcelona, F you.
Tokyo, no way.
Let's talk a little bit more about Bye Burdy. So
Okay.
we kind of talked a little bit about the first one. Did you know you were going to make a second one going into it, or maybe like halfway through the year, you're like, maybe I'll do that?
Actually, I wanted to make a second one. I thought I would do it a lot sooner than I ended up doing it.
Uh-huh.
Like I thought maybe it'll be Halloween themed, or like in the summer. I actually filmed the first scene in the summer with which was Spoon Boy playing a song because he was just in town. And I was like, I think I'm gonna make another one of these. Why don't you play a song and we'll just like put it in.
Spoon Boy, like great musician. We'll link to his stuff. He's all over the place.
Yeah, great DC musician. I guess current starting tomorrow.
What?
Current member of Rvivr.
Oh no, not on bass though, right?
Yeah, on bass.
Oh,
But
he's marked for
but
doom.
if you're
Marked
listening
for
to
doom
this,
there.
if you're listening to this after January 13th,
He's already
then
quit the band.
He's already quit the band. Yeah. So
After January 13th.
so then he'll be former member of Rvivr.
No, but I was just joking. Really, after January 13th,
Yeah.
he's quitting?
Yeah, he's just coming on this next tour with
Oh,
us.
I see. I see.
Yeah, he lives kind of far away.
And
He lives in A Washington, but it's the wrong one.
And we'll get to Rvivr in a second. So you,
Okay.
you,
Yeah, I filmed that, and then I went on a backpacking trip with Joe from the Pasties and Ryan Wade from not the Pasties. And Ryan had a camera, and I was like, well, we're in a really beautiful place. We'll just film a scene right here. And I think I can just add the puppets in later. So I filmed.
like CGI them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just filmed like a little bit, and Joe sang a song because he always brings his ukulele. Yeah, then I was like, I guess I need to get a green screen or figure out some way to like green screen these puppets into this footage I already took. And then I was like, got this new camera, got this new computer, got this like, I think I need to figure out how to use like a green screen. And then I was like, as long as I'm doing all this, I'll just basically make the whole movie based around the fact that I have a green screen. I think Jemmy, you commented on the YouTube, Bye Burdy 2, Kevy gets a green screen.
Who was in Bye Burdy 2? So there's Spoon Boy, Erica,
Well, Rvivr.
Rvivr, but wasn't she was the Frost Queen?
Shark
in it?
Pact, yeah.
Yeah.
Frost Queen got named the Frost Queen because Erica's last name is Freeze. and it sounds like Freeze. Frost Queen. That's a good name.
Yeah, she's a pretty powerful character in it,
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
She's like another one like Tim, where it's like she's definitely, I feel like, a touchstone character
totally.
in the world.
Yeah, and Joey, of course.
Yeah, the Joester.
Joey, the Joester, the real human, lives upstairs in the house. He has this sort of wizardly persona in real life. So I thought he should have like a wizardly persona in the movie, but like sort of like dumb also, you know? Like everybody in the movie is kind of dumb, and I think that's something that they do in
Yeah, it's
the
like a
Muppets
kid's
too.
thing.
It's like a
Yeah.
kid's thing. Everyone's stupid
Right.
because the kids are too. So
Well, and like the
they
problems,
can relate.
I feel like in like kids shows and that kind of thing, like the problems they can't be presented and then solved as fast as adults solve problems.
Yeah.
Because like the kid needs to be able to like consider.
Yeah. So the Joester human was like, he'll be somebody that like the puppets need to go find to like solve their problem because he's like this wizard or something. But then it turns out that Joester's not really the Joester. There's this mean puppet who's actually the real wizard, the Joester. And then it gets confusing because now they're just both named the Joester.
So there's Joester, human being, Joester, puppet, who's
Yeah.
kind of like maybe the human is this
Puppet of
like,
the puppet.
Yeah.
The other day, Joey was like, in the next one, we have to make a puppet of me, and I'll get turned into a puppet.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, then it'll be even more confusing. There'll be 3 Joesters.
When was the first time you used green screen? It was for
It was for that movie.
Bye Burdy.
Yeah, because I had filmed a scene where like the scene wasn't going to work unless I had a green screen.
How'd you get that idea? Or like
I don't know.
Because here's the interesting thing is like with a lot of the creative pursuits I have, I can point directly to somebody who is doing something similar
Right.
beforehand, and then who's accessible to me as like a real person who I can ask questions. And
Yeah,
was there that person?
Yeah,
Was there,
probably.
like,
I just probably forgot about it and then thought I was like really creative or something.
But do you have a friend who does video who you're like, oh yeah,
No.
and then this person does video and makes movies and has green screens and
No.
I don't know why punks don't make YouTube channels or vlogs. Like, you're the first person who I knew within like our community that was actually putting stuff on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
I was like, all right, cool. Everyone's gonna start. Just like everyone is in a band, and like half the
Yeah.
people I know make zines. And it's like, oh, everyone's gonna start doing YouTube stuff, but no one has.
Yeah.
And, just like no one I know makes a podcast either. Like, this is the
Yeah.
first anyone I know doing a podcast.
And everybody thinks we're like really talented by doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, exactly.
it's true. Yeah, nobody knows how like lazy we truly are.
Yeah.
So why do you think it is that people around here aren't into video stuff or using YouTube stuff as much?
I don't know. Probably part of it is because nobody's doing it, honestly.
It is interesting though, because as far as like bands, there's a ton of people in bands. There's a ton of people making visual art. Maybe because that's also the thing that I often think. I'm like, why isn't this happening in Olympia? And then the actual answer is it totally is. I just don't know the people.
Right.
Yeah. That's like when I earlier said the only place to play is the Flophouse or the Voyeur. There's like tons of shows here, and very few of them are at those 2 places. That's just like the only places I know about.
Right,
you know?
right.
Yeah.
You can still
Like-
go downtown and like look at flyers for a million different like houses.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know where that is. I don't know who those bands are.
Right.
I'm too lazy to try. There's like even a Olympia Film Collective.
See,
and
that's
stuff like
exactly
that.
it.
I mean, there's probably lots of them actually. Like,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's one called that. Who like last year in the film festival, the locals shorts program, the Olympia Film Collective was like all over it. And I think maybe I was the only person not involved with the Olympia Film Collective who was in the program.
Oh, that is interesting.
And then they were like, "You got to join the collective," and I was like, "I don't really know what that means," or like,
join us.
really.
Join us.
I mean, it's probably cool, but I just kind of like doing stuff by myself. They were like, "We're trying to get the film industry of Olympia booming." I was like, "I don't really know what that means. I'll be in my room making a movie."
Right.
I would benefit a lot from joining or something. They probably like know what they're doing, have equipment.
Yeah, but who makes decisions by what benefits them? I don't know.
They might have pro tips.
Yeah, maybe they have some pro tips.
Right.
Or
I could
maybe
use some.
you would join, and then they'd be coming to you and be like, "Your shit's top notch." Like, teach
Like,
us.
how do
And
you
you're
green,
like,
how do you make a green screen? What is that like? I got a green towel. Does that work?
So let's go ahead and talk about Bye Bye Birdie 4, and then we'll cycle back to Bye Bye Birdie 3.
Okay.
So you're in the middle right now.
I'm in the middle. I'm getting close to the end, but I'm supposed to film a couple things today with Erica again and Spoonboy.
Nice. So Ice Queen, this is breaking news. Ice Queen is going to be in Bye Bye Birdie 4.
Yes,
What's your Pop exclusive? All right, we got it. Scoop.
Unless she flakes, but I don't think she will. But then this year I'm doing some off-location segments. So I had Shell Shag from New York record a part, and they have this TV show on YouTube called Shell-Shonic Shagavision.
Shell-Shonic Shagavision?
Yeah, and they do all this weird stuff. And they have bands play and stuff. It's pretty cool. So I had them from their TV show talk to the puppets, and then so I just like added their footage onto a TV, and then like made it interact with the puppets here in Olympia. I just did that yesterday.
Via green screen?
Well, no, but actually they just have like a big cutout of a TV, and then where the screen is just a hole.
Right.
So like the shot is
framed like a TV.
Framed like you're looking at a TV. Yeah, exactly. And behind them, they always do different scenes and settings and stuff. And this time it's a green screen, so I like have the option to put weird stuff behind them, which is like this whole can of worms. I don't know if I want to do, but maybe I will. I don't know. I'm trying to be done with the whole project in like a week. So.
Wow, and you started about a week ago, right?
Yeah, maybe 2 weeks.
Is the process now that you're particularly like involved in it right now? Are you already thinking about what you want to do for 5 that might be pushing the limits?
No.
No.
I'll start thinking about 5 probably in probably like October, November. I'll start thinking about how much I don't want to do it. Then late November, I'll start to like get really grumpy about how I don't want to do it, but have an idea for it, and then probably film it December.
So do you basically just resist like the idea until it's like so compelling in your mind or taking up so much, you're like, fine, I'll just do it.
Kind of.
Is that the way it works for other stuff too?
No. I think this one is like particularly something I don't want to do until I start doing it. Then I love it.
Nice.
And I know I complain so much about it, how I don't want to do it, how it's going to be really bad. And the kids are too old now. Okay, one of them's only 3, so.
They're already.
Oh, actually, there's a new one too that's only 1, so.
Oh, that's perfect. So
now I'm
keep
stuck.
It going forever.
Yeah, forever.
And I mean, and another thing is like if you want to know what a certain cross section of music being made in Olympia is like, watching all the Bye Bye Birdies gives you a pretty interesting cross section of what's actually happening. And since a lot of the music existed outside of, wasn't necessarily made for the movies, some of it was, some of it wasn't.
Yeah.
Then you kind of get a nice smattering of the creative community.
Yeah, and what I really like is when the bands do live, like in Bye Bye Birdie 2, Shark Pack is a keyboard and drums band, but they did, Camille played piano and Jeff played acoustic guitar, and they played like one of their songs that's usually really loud, and sometimes I just overdub the pre-recorded stuff, which also is cool because it sounds really good, and it's cool when a band does it live and they can change the lyrics for me and stuff.
Right. Anything you wanted to, or any special note for Bye Bye Birdie 3? That's the last installment last year.
Bye Bye Birdie 3, I think, was maybe the best one yet because I'm learning. I think I'm okay at like making music videos, and I'm starting to learn how to edit so that things make sense, like a conversation. I think Bye Bye Birdie 1 is like, so what are you doing today? Switch character. I'm going to the store. Switch. It's like, I didn't know.
Very snappy.
Yeah, it's not very snappy. I didn't know you can, like everybody making their first movie, I think. Now this puppet needs to walk to the room, walk across the living room, walk across the living room from another angle, walk up to the door, put the hand on the door, walk through the door from the other side, walk and stop, walk and stop, walk and stop. Like, you can get the idea that the puppet walked across the room without having to show the entire length of the room, and you can know that it went into the room without showing it. Put
Opening
its
the
hand on the door, walking in the door, all this kind of stuff.
See.
So episode 3 was the video for the Spider song was focused on NPR.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How did that happen?
Somebody who works for NPR and lives in Washington, D.C. likes Rvivr. Yeah, I don't remember. What was that on? Do you remember?
I feel it was that on heavy rotation or
I-
song?
Or All Songs Considered?
All
maybe?
Songs Considered.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It just ended up on there. Somebody likes us who works at NPR.
Did you know beforehand, or was it like, oh my god?
No,
we're on
he's friends
NPR?
with Spoonboy, I think, though.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't even remember how I found out about it. It wasn't on the radio either. It was just on the internet, which I was like, it would have been cool if I was listening to NPR.
And heard yourself
heard-
on NPR.
yeah.
That'd be a very surreal moment.
Yeah, but it was cool because the song they chose happened to be the song that I put in Bye Burdy 2, or it's 2,
But it's
and
too-
so, and then they linked to the video, which was the video from Bye Burdy 2, so that was cool. But I think like looking at the views, people don't look at that video and think, oh, maybe I'll watch the movie that it's from. They're just like, weird movie with weird music videos with puppets in it.
Want to talk a bit about Rvivr?
Sure. Rvivr.
So let's say somebody didn't know anything about Rvivr.
Okay. Rvivr is a punk band from Olympia. It's pretty poppy. I think it's like pretty cool.
It is a cool band.
Yeah, it is a cool band. People tend to love us or like really hate us.
Why do people hate Rvivr?
There's a lot of reasons people hate Rvivr.
Well, first of all, you're all assholes. I mean, obviously,
Well, yeah,
given,
I mean-
naturally. But
People used to really hate Rvivr because we would tell them like feminism stuff and they'd be like, or like, hey, you know when you guys are like punching each other out there and like smashing into us, maybe don't. And they'd be like,
so you're PC fascist, got it.
yeah, that's why people hate us, PC fascists. So people have a hard time with that because like punk is about doing whatever you want. Fuck everything.
Punk's all like, don't tell me what to do.
Now they hate
That's
us.
funny that people in the punk scene, you're like, you know what's awesome? Like, you guys are all down with like how women should have the same rights as men, right? And they're like, fuck you, don't tell us what we should think.
Yeah, but yeah, they're like, fuck you, of course that's the way it is, or something. And we're like, it's not really though. Did you notice
How it's not
none
that
of
way.
the other bands have women in them? Stuff like that. You know, it's a little weird.
So we don't want to talk about why people don't like Rvivr. Why do people like Rvivr?
Oh yeah, I guess.
I'll tell you why I like Rvivr.
Okay.
'Cause maybe it's weird for you to talk about why, but here's why I like Rvivr. Number one, they have their sound figured out. Like when I go to a Rvivr show, it sounds good. I record audio and I like hearing a good mix of sound, and it's hard to get in a live context.
Right.
But when you go to a Rvivr show, you hear every instrument. It sounds like really like rockin' and poppy, but you can hear everything. You guys have your sound figured out as far as all that goes.
Yeah, I think we put like a lot of effort into making the songs have parts that, like everyone's not playing A here. You know, like
Right.
someone will do a little noodle, sing noodle. Someone else does a noodle.
Yeah. No, it's real good.
Yeah.
And then like the songs are about real things.
Yeah.
Like there's meaning behind the songs, which like I like meaningless songs just as much, but
Yeah, sometimes it's okay to have meaning.
yeah.
Nah.
Also the art, who does a lot of the art direction for Rvivr? Like all your album, like basically all the media part of Rvivr is really well done from the logo down. You know, even
Yeah.
the name, the word Rvivr and the way it's done.
Erica does a lot of it. We usually do everything together, but Erica, I think often she's the one who's like, or I don't know, I guess like we all have like a vision for the different things. I guess Erica like knows how to use Photoshop or is like adamant about not using Photoshop sometimes. So we just like do it on the coffee machine instead.
How'd you guys go with the spelling of Rvivr and all that? How'd that all happen?
So
So Rvivr, and I can't do it because I'm a bad speller.
You'll end up spelling it
I
right.
can't even correctly spell it the way it's done. So like you'll have to put all that into words.
okay, so there's two spellings of Rvivr, Rvivor and Rvivr, and we were Rvivr, Revivr, and then some band from Salt Lake City emailed us and was like, "We're Rvivr. don't be a Rvivr, we're Rvivr. And we're like, we don't really care. They're like a hardcore band. We're like, we're not really in the same scene or something. It's like different. It doesn't matter. We're just like, there's always bands with the same names.
Right.
They're like, you gotta change it. And then we even looked it up. There was actually another band called Rvivr in Salt Lake City. They were like a jazz band, so I guess it didn't matter. There was another band called Rvivr from Long Island, where Maddie's from.
And then there's Rvivr UK.
Is there?
No,
Oh,
that's a joke.
That would be cool. So then we're like trying to come up with a new name, and we're like, I don't know. Actually, we even emailed Rvivr Salt Lake City, and we're like, well, we could change our name. Can you think of a good name? Because we can't really think of one.
Help us out, guys.
And they wrote back like, the first thing a band must do is to choose their own name. We had to do it, and now you're going to have to do it for yourself or something. We're like,
That's so
we already
hilarious.
chose our name.
What if someone emailed you and is like, oh no, you have the same band name as us. What should we call our band? What would you say to them?
Probably like something equally as stupid as like,
Well, the first thing you need to
I
I would
to do.
send them a list. Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to come up with bad band names. Like,
Yeah.
I would just come up with a list of 10 and be like, the first thing a band must do is
Make a
choose a
list.
name from this list.
The Chodemongers.
The Chonmongers, the Call of the Void.
No, there's definitely a Call of the Void. There's definitely 5 bands in the Bay Area called
They
that.
call them Void. So, what did you guys do?
Oh yeah, so then we couldn't think of a good name, and we are like, we really want to be Rvivr. And then I was like on a bike trip or something, and I came back, and they were like, we figured it out. RVIVR, it looks cool. And I was like, yeah, I guess so. That's a little weird, but yeah.
It reminded me of Nine Inch Nails.
Nice.
Just because, like, the symmetry of Rvivr. For me, when I see Rvivr written, particularly like on like an album cover or like a patch or somebody's T-shirt, I'm not thinking Rvivr. I'm thinking that's a symbol that means the
that
band.
was
So it works that way.
That was another thing when we were like doing it. We were like, this kind of looks like a symbol, but it's also a word.
Right.
It's cool. It's still symmetrical. So that was cool. And then I think it was like a great move, because if you look like on the internet for Rvivr, there's only one thing that's going to come up. If you look for a Rvivr, and guess which Rvivr's not a band anymore?
Suckers. The Jets band?
No, mine.
Oh.
Yeah, we just broke up. And Rvivr Salt Lake City took the E's out of their name.
So, and Rvivr is like a real band. You guys
We're like a real band. We we put out records and tour a lot, both.
Record label, Rumbletown.
Mm-hmm.
And then you guys do a lot of the recording right at your house, right? At Punk Hall,
actually,
Olympia.
we've recorded everything at our house.
Yeah. And then has Joester done Joester from the Bye Burdy?
Joester's done
series.
almost everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did our last full length. But then Maddie's old friend Phil came out and recorded the last EP because Joey was on tour with his band Dogjaw, which is also really good.
Yeah, check out
also
Dogjaw.
in Bye Burdy 3.
Also on Rumbletown.
Also on Rumbletown.
So
Yeah.
we'll have
Small
links
town,
to all
huh?
this stuff. Yeah.
A small friend group at least. Well, yeah, okay, it's a small town too.
It's a small town. It's a small friend group. So you guys have like been literally all over the United States many times, all over the world many times, and even to weird places.
Nearly all over the world.
Where is it that you guys want to go next? Or where do you want to go that you guys haven't gone?
Where we haven't gone, I want to go to more places in South and Central America. We've gone to Brazil. We're hoping to go back in June. The best thing I've ever done in my life, maybe, was going on tour there. Maybe.
Wow.
I don't know. It was amazing. It was like really incredible.
Why is that?
The people were so happy that we were there. There was like a lot of them. They were really pumped. They were really nice. They made us great food. We went on tour with this other band, which we usually don't like to do, but every time we've done it, it's worked out really well. We got along really well. It was really insane. It was like 13 people in a van with a trailer. Brazil is a gigantic country where there's like long distances between the cities. The last 3 or 4 days of the tour was like drive all day, play a show, sleep a couple hours, drive all day, play a show, sleep for an hour, drive all day, play a show, drive all night.
Like longer than 12-hour drives.
Yeah.
Wow.
All of our feet were totally swollen from sitting so much. We were all wearing flip-flops You know, in Brazil it was really hot, and our feet were like bulging out from around the straps everywhere.
God,
It was disgusting.
crazy. That is so crazy. But everybody was so
Even the Brazilians too. It wasn't just us.
Yeah,
Like,
no. It's not like a.
I think it doesn't have something to do with like the weather. It's like hot and humid.
No, it really just has to do
All,
with
all sitting.
Yeah,
For
just
some reason,
with-
we thought
you
it
need
had something to do with
move, you
heat
really
and humidity
need to
too.
move around in order to get that blood back to your heart. You really have to. Humans are not meant to sit about. We're meant to be moving.
But that's usually what I do.
I know. I sit about too. It's terrible. I'm glad
Sometimes
I'm a job right now.
I'm a layabout.
Laying
they meant
about
to-
is actually better.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I'll remember that.
Yeah, lying is actually like not very detrimental to your health, but sitting is actually horrible for you.
So they have the standing desk. Eventually, they'll have the laying desk too.
Yeah.
Just lay down and work.
I'm at work. So you want to go back to Brazil? Where's
What about the way people like squat sit? You know, like some places in the world, there's not a lot of chairs. There's just like people just sit sort of like, I think it's called on their haunches.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, I can't speak to that specifically, but that really like the thing is like people are supposed to be active.
Huh.
You're supposed to move around, and like certainly for your vascular system,
Yeah.
it only works by moving around. Like it doesn't. Your veins won't work properly unless you're moving around.
All right.
That's why people who are laid up in the hospital have big problems.
I think I got to go then.
Yeah, you gotta get walking.
And thank you for listening to Olympia Pop Rocks. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more, you can subscribe to our podcast, check out the website, see all the other activities we're involved in, or just come up to me and Guire and say hi when we're hanging out at the crypt. We want to thank again Kevin for sitting in with us. Episode 4 of Bye Burdy is now on YouTube, and you can find it on Kevin's channel. His band is undoubtedly on tour. If you see him, tell him we said hello. Thank you for listening again. Next episode, we'll be talking to Spoon Boy and discussing the British television show Black Mirror. Until then...